The resort lobby was alive with laughter, the kind of effortless, careless laughter that came from people who had never once been made to feel small in their lives. Crystal chandeliers scattered warm golden light across polished marble floors. The air carried the faint scent of imported lilies mixed with expensive perfume. Guests moved confidently through the space dressed in designer suits, silk dresses, and watches that cost more than most people earned in a year. And yet, in the middle of all that wealth and elegance, stood a man no one noticed. Kenji Morita stood quietly in line, clutching a printed reservation slip in his trembling hands. He wasn't loud. He wasn't demanding. He wasn't even impatient. He was just waiting. His worn leather suitcase sat beside him, its surface marked with years of travel, small scars from cities across the world. His simple gray jacket hung loosely on his shoulders, slightly wrinkled from 18 hours of flights that had carried him from Tokyo to San Francisco, then to Denver, and finally here. He had chosen to look this way. Ordinary, forgettable, invisible. For 30 years, Kenji had lived behind layers of privacy. Security details, assistants, luxury cars, private entrances, all carefully arranged so the world would never truly see him unless he allowed it. But this was different. This was not chosen invisibility. This was the invisibility of being dismissed, of being looked through as though he weren't worth the effort of focus. He had been standing in line for 20 minutes. The line had been 6 people long when he arrived. Now it was 3. But somehow he hadn't moved. Each time he reached the front, someone else was waved forward ahead of him. A couple in matching tennis whites were escorted past him with apologetic smiles that weren't meant for him. A businessman in a tailored navy suit snapped his fingers once, and suddenly a concierge appeared beside him as if summoned by magic. A woman wearing a fur coat in September was guided directly to the desk by 2 eager bellhops fighting over her luggage. And each time, Kenji stepped back. He told himself it didn't matter. He told himself this was exactly why he had come, to see how his company's hotels treated guests when they believed no one important was watching. But knowing something and feeling it were 2 very different things. And right now, what he felt was small. "Excuse me," he said quietly to a passing staff member, a young man with a crisp uniform and a name tag that read Dylan. "I have reservation. I wait long time." Dylan barely slowed. "You'll have to wait your turn, sir," he replied, already scanning the lobby for someone who looked more deserving of attention. The word "sir" sounded like something he'd been trained to say, but didn't actually mean. Kenji nodded politely anyway. His feet hurt. The exhaustion of travel sat deep in his bones, made worse by something heavy that had followed him here from home. 3 weeks ago, his nephew, the boy he had raised, mentored, trusted, had betrayed him. Deals made behind his back. Board members convinced in secret. A plan executed with surgical precision. Completely legal. Completely devastating. So Kenji had done something he hadn't done in decades. He left. No security. No assistant. No announcement. Just an old man with a suitcase and a reservation made under a name no one would recognize. Now only one person stood ahead of him in line. Then finally, next, Kenji stepped forward. The desk clerk glanced up, and her perfect professional smile dimmed slightly when she saw him. "Name?" she asked flatly. "Morita," he replied gently. "Kenji Morita." She began typing, paused, frowned. "I don't see anything. Are you sure you have a reservation here?" "Yes, I make reservation 3 weeks ago." "Confirmation number?" Kenji hesitated. He reached into his pocket, searching for his phone, his email, anything. But fatigue had tangled his thoughts into useless knots. "Sir, if you don't have a confirmation number, I can't help you," she said, already looking past him toward the next guest in line. "Maybe you have the wrong hotel." "No, it is correct hotel." "Please, can you check again?" "I already checked." Her voice had grown sharper now. "Step aside so I can help the next guest." Step aside, like he was blocking traffic, like he didn't belong. Heat crept slowly up Kenji's neck, that quiet, suffocating shame that came from being dismissed in public. Before he could respond, "Is there a problem here?" A man in a manager's jacket approached, his expression already hardened with irritation. "This gentleman doesn't appear to have a reservation," the clerk explained. The manager looked Kenji up and down. The worn jacket, the old suitcase, the careful but imperfect English, and something in his face closed. "Sir," he said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear, "this is a luxury resort. If you're looking for budget accommodations, there are several motels about 15 miles down the mountain road." A few people turned to look. Someone chuckled. Something inside Kenji cracked. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet fracture, like ice splitting on a frozen lake. He had built an empire, employed 40,000 people across 6 countries, donated more money to charity in the last year than this resort likely made in profit, and none of it mattered, because right now they looked at him and saw nothing. He opened his mouth to speak when a voice cut through the lobby like a bell. Summa Mason, "Excuse me," perfectly pronounced, soft, respectful, Japanese. Kenji's head turned sharply. A young waitress in a simple black uniform was walking toward him from a cafe. She stopped a few feet away, bowed slightly, and in flawless Japanese said, "Sir, may I help you?" For a moment, Kenji forgot where he was, forgot the desk clerk's dismissal, forgot the manager's judgment, forgot the exhaustion pressing into his bones and the betrayal that had driven him halfway across the world. Because this young woman, this waitress with tired eyes and a neatly tied ponytail, had just spoken to him in his own language with a tone of respect he hadn't heard since leaving home. It felt like hearing his mother's voice after years of silence. "You speak Japanese?" he asked softly, still in Japanese, disbelief roughening his voice. She smiled, not the polished, professional smile worn by the rest of the staff, but something warmer. "Rio." "Yes, sir. I lived in Tokyo for several years." "I couldn't help overhearing. It sounded like you were having trouble with your reservation." Behind him, someone sighed impatiently. The desk clerk watched with narrowed eyes. The manager folded his arms. But the young woman paid them no attention. She was focused entirely on Kenji, giving him the attention no one else had thought he deserved. "My assistant made reservation," Kenji explained gratefully in Japanese. "But I left in hurry." Maybe she used different name for privacy. She nodded once, then turned to the front desk. "Excuse me, Rachel," she said calmly in English. "This gentleman is Mr. Morita. There may have been a booking mix-up. May I use the computer to help search for it?" Rachel blinked. "Skylar, you're supposed to be in the cafe. This isn't your department." "I know," Skylar replied gently, "but I speak Japanese, and I think I can resolve this quickly." The manager stepped forward. "Miss Reed, I appreciate the initiative, but we have procedures." "The procedure is to help guests," she interrupted politely, her smile calm but firm. "That's what we're here for, right?" He hesitated, glanced around at the growing number of onlookers, then forced a tight smile. "Fine. Make it quick." Skylar stepped behind the desk. Kenji pulled out his phone with shaking hands. "My assistant's name is Yuki Tanaka," he said. "Maybe booking under her name or under D. That is pen name I sometimes use." Skylar typed, paused, typed again. The lobby grew quiet enough that Kenji could hear the soft clicking of keys beneath her fingertips. 10 seconds. 20. He held his breath. Then her face lit up. "Found it." She looked carefully at the manager. "Imperial Suite. 14 nights. Starting today." Color drained from his face. He leaned forward to see the screen for himself, and Kenji watched the exact moment understanding dawn in his eyes. The Imperial Suite wasn't just expensive. It was reserved for people who mattered. "Mr. Sato," the manager said suddenly, his voice dripping with forced respect, "I am so deeply sorry for confusion." "It's ready," Skylar said calmly, already printing the key card. She turned back to Kenji in Japanese. "I'm so sorry for the trouble, sir. Would you like help with your luggage?" 2 bellhops appeared instantly, the same ones who had walked past him earlier. "No," Kenji said quietly. Then he looked at her, really looked at her. "How did you learn Japanese?" he asked. "My father was in the military," she replied. "We lived in Tokyo from when I was 8 until I was 14. I went to a local school. Made friends. Learned the language. Her smile faded slightly. It was the happiest time of my life. When we moved back, I promised I'd go back someday. I want to be a translator. Maybe work for the embassy or a company that does business with Japan. But university is expensive and... She gave a small shrug. Right now, I'm saving what I can. You work in cafe? Kenji asked. And the restaurant. Double shifts most days. Matter of fact, no self-pity. Kenji felt something shift deep in his chest. Here was someone working herself to exhaustion for a future she could barely afford. And she had stopped everything to help him, not because she knew who he was, but because she thought it mattered. May I ask your full name? He said quietly. Skylar Reed. Kenji nodded once. Then he turned to the manager and switched to English. I need to tell you something. The lobby grew still. My real name is not Sato. The manager frowned slightly. My real name, Kenji said clearly, is Kenji Morita. Silence. Then recognition hit like lightning. The manager's face went pale. Rachel grabbed the desk to steady herself. One of the bellhops gasped. Owner of Morita International. Parent company of Summit Resort Properties. Owner of this hotel. And 63 others around the world. Sir, I'm so... Kenji raised a hand. I came here quietly because I want to see how my hotels treat guests when they believe no one important is watching. He let the words settle. Watching shame spread across their faces. Now I know. He turned to Skylar. Miss Reed, you show me kindness when everyone else showed me nothing. This is rare. His voice softened. This is valuable. Anyone would have. No, Kenji said firmly. Not anyone. Not today. Only you. He turned back toward the manager. You're fired. Rachel's breath caught. And the desk clerk as well. The manager opened his mouth. Closed it. You suggested I try a motel, Kenji continued quietly. Because I look poor. Because my English is not perfect. How many other guests have you treated this way? No answer came. Kenji faced Skylar again. I am creating a new position, guest relations cultural liaison. Your responsibility will be to ensure that every guest, regardless of appearance, language, or background, is treated with dignity. The salary is $90,000 per year. Skylar's eyes widened. $90,000 plus benefits, Kenji added. And I will pay for your university education. You want to be a translator. You will be the best translator. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Why? She whispered. Kenji thought of betrayal, of doubt, of wondering if kindness was weakness. Because you greeted me in Japanese, he said gently. One sentence. That's all it took, and it changed everything. He took her hand. In my country, we have a saying, one kind word can warm 3 winter months. Today, you gave me back something I thought I had lost. What? She asked softly. Hope. Slowly, someone began clapping. Then another, until the entire lobby erupted into applause. Come, Kenji said quietly in Japanese as the elevator doors opened. Help me to my room. I am very tired, and I would like to hear more about Tokyo. Skylar nodded, wiping her tears. She picked up his worn suitcase herself, ignoring the bellhops, and stepped inside beside him. As the elevator doors closed, Kenji caught one last glimpse of the silent lobby, and for the first time in 3 weeks, he smiled. Thank you, he said softly. For what? For seeing me, Kenji replied. When I was invisible, the elevator rose toward the imperial suite, and a future rewritten by a single word. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness creates the biggest change.